Hey guys, it's Jen. I'm so excited to be able to share with you my tips and tricks for bridal makeup. So if you wanted to see how I created this glowy, soft glam, long-lasting look, then keep watching. So the very first thing I like to do is apply a lip balm. This just ensures that when you get around to applying lipstick, your lips are moisturised, prepped and ready. Skin prep on your wedding day is so important. Your foundation is only going to look as good as the skin underneath it. So I always like to start with an eye cream. This is the Origin's GinZing eye cream. I just apply this under the eyes. This will help to moisturise and provides a great base for the concealer to go on. It will also stop it from settling into any fine lines. For moisturiser, I have been loving this Tatcha Water Cream. It's really lightweight, it feels like water on your skin and it just melts in. It's super hydrating and plumping, which is perfect for your wedding day. So I always like to start my makeup with brows. I find that if you apply your brow product after you've applied your foundation, they can slide around a little bit. So it's always best to apply onto clean skin. I'm just using short hair-like strokes and then flipping the pencil around to use the spoolie to disperse the product evenly throughout the hairs and onto the skin. For your wedding day, I would recommend going for a product that gives you a more natural brow finish. I feel like you should really be going for a classic look. So once you're happy with how you filled in your brows, use a little brow gel to groom them and keep them in place. This here is the Hourglass Arch Volumizing Gel, which I love because it really does make the hairs look fuller. Just use upward strokes at the top of the brow and follow the hairline when you get to the end of the brow. And for extra sharp brows, you can carve them out with a bit of concealer. So I've just put a bit of NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in custard onto this flat synthetic concealer brush. And I'm just carving out the shape below the bottom of the brow. Moving on to eyes, this is the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I use this as my eyeshadow primer / base. As you apply it, it does get rid of any discoloration that you may have, and it's just a really long-lasting base. So whenever I use this, my eye makeup does not move or crease, and this is especially good if you get oily eyelids. And for eyeshadow, I am going to be using the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette today. I use this on most of my brides. It has the most gorgeous selection of eyeshadows with pinky undertones, so they're really soft and feminine. So just taking this first shade right here, Strange, I'm applying that on a large fluffy brush and just dusting that over my eyelid primer. It just helps to ensure that if you haven't blended out the base properly, that none of the eyeshadow colors will stick to it unevenly. For the transition shade, I am using a mixture of Limit and Nuna. So these are the two matte lightish shades in the palette, and I'm blending them together because I love them both so much. And I'm just applying that where my crease should be to create some depth and dimension on the lid. Now I'm switching to a slightly more tapered brush. This is the MAC 224, and I will be going into the shade Mugshot. So this is a brown with a bit of a sheen to it. So I'm just picking that up, dusting off the excess, and now I'm going to work that into the outer corner. Because it's a little bit more tapered than the large fluffy NARS brush I was using before, we can start to create a bit more definition on the outer corner. I'm just using windscreen wiper motions, so going back and forth to really build that color. And to darken the outer corner even more, I'm taking the two darker shades of the palette, Dark Side and Dark Heart, and I'm going to apply them to the outer corner using a bullet shaped brush, and I'll just apply the color first and blend it out with a fluffy brush. And now to blend this out, I'm taking the shade Nuna, which we used before, and I am using the same MAC 224, and I am just applying that in round circular motions, and this will just help to blend out the colors together seamlessly so we have no harsh lines. So for any makeup look, especially bridal, I prefer to do the eyes first. It just makes it so much easier to remove any fallout if you're not worried about taking off the base underneath. And to make sure the eyes still have a soft feminine touch to them, I will be using the Stila Shimmer and Glow liquid eyeshadow in the shade Kitten. And on top of that, I'm going to take this shade Buzz right here, spray the brush with a bit of Fix Plus. This is a great trick for any shimmer eyeshadows. It really helps to bring out that gleam. I'm just going to pack that directly on top of the Stila liquid eyeshadow that we just placed down. So I'm working this mainly in the middle section where the colors transition. Now for liner, I will be using the Stila Stay All Day Waterproof Liquid Eyeliner. This is the best liquid eyeliner, especially for your wedding day, because it is waterproof. I don't want to create too thick of a line. I just want to be able to fill in the lash line so that when we do apply falsies, there's no gap between the eye and the lash band. So this one has been tried and tested, and if you do cry on your wedding day, it's not gonna run. For lashes, I'll be using these Mecca Max Knockout lashes. I love these because they get longer towards the outer corner, and they've also got a bit of a thicker lash band too, which will help open up the eye. And I love how there's like a crisscross effect, and they're not too intense that you won't be able to see the eyeshadow that we've just placed down underneath. So the lashes are on. I love what a difference falsies make. Make sure that before you put on falsies, you curl your natural lashes and apply waterproof mascara, and then press the false lash with your natural lash together so they just blend in as one. Moving on to complexion, the first and probably most important step is priming your skin. I am absolutely in love with the Hourglass Veil Primer. Start with the middle of your face before you spread the rest of the product out to the perimeter, because the middle is where you will need it the most. It feels so nice. The foundation I use on most of my brides is NARS Sheer Glow. It has a medium to full coverage, which is buildable and has a skin-like finish. So I'm in the shade Punjab, and normally I just apply one pump at a time and use a brush to work that into my skin. When you're applying your wedding day foundation, it's important that you've applied it in such a way that it will last a long time. So I find using a brush and circular buffing motions really helps to press it into the skin. And then once I've applied that first layer, I take a sponge and further push that product into my skin. I just find it looks more flawless this way, and also helps with the longevity. So as I mentioned, this foundation is quite buildable, so just go in with the first layer, and if you find you can still see some imperfections coming through, or you just want to look more flawless, then you can just apply another layer. So you want to put down all your cream products before you apply any powders. This just helps with the textures and blending everything together seamlessly. So today I will be using a cream highlight as well as a powder highlight, but we'll do that later. I'm using the Hourglass VANISH sticks. This is the shade Champagne Flash, and just applying that to the C section around the side of my face and blending that in with my fingers. I love these because they're like a subtle type of glow. It looks like you're lit from within, and it's not blinding, and there's no glitter to it at all. For concealer, I'm using my all-time favorite. This is NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I am in the shade Custard. So I've applied it to underneath my eyes and down the sides of my nose, as well as the center. This will just add some dimension to the face as well as additional coverage. And I'm also just applying some of that to the center of my forehead, down the chin. And my favorite way to blend out concealer is taking a beauty sponge and just spraying it with a bit of Fix Plus. I find that doing it this way, it helps to blend the product out better, and it makes it last even longer. And especially if you've got dry under eyes, this just helps to make sure that it doesn't sink into the fine lines. So I'm just using pouncing motions to blend this out. I find that using a pressing motion really helps to push the product into the skin and helps it last a lot longer. And to keep that in place, I'm going to go in with the Hourglass finishing powder in Dim Light. So I just take that on a fluffy brush and apply that underneath my eyes and down the center of the nose and forehead, as well as just lightly buffing that around the rest of the face. So this just provides a good base for your other products like your bronzer and blush to go on nice and evenly. And now for some added insurance against creasing, I love to apply a bit of translucent powder directly underneath the eye. I love to do this after you've applied some dim light, because I find if you apply your translucent powder directly onto your concealer, it can suck up all the moisture and look really dry, which is what we definitely don't want. I also just apply a light dusting down the sides of the nose, the center and the forehead where you would normally get oily, and this just helps absorb oil all day. And I'm just warming up the face with some of my favorite bronzer ever. This is NARS Laguna. I'm not going for a contoured look today. I feel like contouring can look a bit harsh, and we just want to look really soft and timeless for the wedding day. For blush, I'm using another cult favorite, NARS Orgasm, and I'm just applying that to the apples of my cheeks and drawing that upwards. I feel like Orgasm is such a universally flattering shade and perfect for a wedding day because it does have a bit of a glow to it. And now for my favorite part, highlighter. This is Stila's Heaven's Hue highlighter in the shade Kitten. It has a putty kind of consistency, so it's kind of a blend between a cream and a powder. And it just really makes your skin look wet and dewy, which I love. I'm also just gonna take a small amount of that on a pencil brush and use it to highlight the inner corner of my eye. For the lower lash line, I'm going to be using Stila's Smudge Stick in the shade Lionfish. So this is a brown, not black, with a bit of a shimmer to it. I find using brown instead of black is a lot less harsh, especially for your wedding day. You want to keep everything looking soft. So that's why I'm using brown, not black. And I'm just going to smudge out that liner with a few of the shades that I used on the eyelid. This just helps to make the liner last longer, and it also just helps to balance out the eye, because at the moment we have a lot on the top with the eyeshadow, the liner and the lashes. And now finishing off with lips, I love using a pinky color that enhances the bride's natural lip color. I find if you go too nude, it can look a bit washed out in photographs, so adding a bit of color is really important. So I've just applied a MAC lip liner. This is Soar, and this shade here is MAC Faux, which I use on most of my brides. I find it's a really universally flattering shade and a gorgeous pink. And now for the very final step, setting spray. I've actually been using two lately. So I use the Tatcha Dewy Skin Mist on where I've applied my highlighter, as it just helps it look super dewy, and then I apply Fix Plus everywhere else. Setting sprays really help to blend all the powders into your face together seamlessly, and it helps your makeup last all day long. So with the Tatcha Skin Mist, it's actually got oil in it, so I don't want to get any of that on my eye area. So I just cover that as I spray. Smells so good. And then for the rest of the face, I'm using Fix Plus, which also smells amazing. Let that dry and you are all good to go. So this is the finished look, guys. I hope you learned some tips and tricks on how to do bridal makeup. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment below of what you'd like to see next. Bye.